So my name is Swan, and my journey in cybersecurity began with a passion for reverse engineering, um, which led me to report my first CV 10 years ago. It was a crucial point in my career, and then I open sourced a few stuff, as Oscar said, related to security on GitHub. Maybe you used GraphQL Armor already. For the past 3 years, I've been working at Escape, where we focus on building DAST tools and offensive tools that automatically test applications. So today, I'm excited to share insight on how this innovation are shaping the future of API security in general. So let's get started. Recently, there have been a lot of talk, especially on LinkedIn, about the phrase "DAST is dead." So I've come across multiple posts where both vendors, security vendors, and users discuss challenges they face with, let's say, traditional DAST tools. Many vendors and companies feels like there is no one size fits all solution, just like someone says. But customers see the value in dynamic testing because they keep saying this on LinkedIn, and they want to get something that work for us. So I would say this discussion highlight a gap between the traditional DAST and value proposition, and what a modern application really need. So many tools are seen as outdated, unable to adapt to the new threat, or often it's just too complex to integrate into existing workflow. So I think that's why it often leads to frustration, especially on social network. And people are looking for some more streamlined and effective solution. So the core promise of DAST, which is to provide insight on how application behavior works in a real-world setting, is still attractive, but we will see the many challenges ongoing to innovate and refine these tools. So today we'll explore a bit of that. So yeah, so why people believe that is because why people believe it's dead is due to the limitation of all tools, as we said before. Users are finding true positive with mostly newer tools. There is a motion that traditional DAST require too much effort to be scalable. So you have to put much effort in it, and at the end, it doesn't really scale with your application. And so this graph illustrates increasing blind spots while security team capacity remain stagnant. So it highlights well how all DAST fall behind quickly as your companies and application and line of code, I will say, grows. So there is been little to no innovation in this space while technology evolve very quickly, and stagnation makes threat undetectable. So I don't know, maybe some of you have already faced limitation with traditional DAST. I will get yeah. So maybe some of you have been seeing some limitations and you would like to share them, so don't hesitate. And this mismatch is often why people are seeking for some more effective solution that can scale and evolve with their company digitalization. All right. So there is another topic with DAST tool is that they often fall short for API securities because of the overwhelming volume of alerts they generate. And people are also talking about this subject, the subject which is known as alert fatigue, where security teams quickly become overwhelmed and even at some point start ignoring alerts, potentially missing some significant vulnerabilities. So, as highlighted in the screenshot, alert fatigue can be a major and threatening issue for your company. And for example, just for the example, but what we did to tackle this alert fatigue was building a comprehensive platform that can help prioritize and manage alert at scale, just like we did see in the previous screenshot with the scalability. So it allows security team to focus on what truly matters without being buried into under a mountain of notifications. So I've included a quick screenshot so you can see how it can be effectively managed. And this approach not only help security engineers, it can even help your SOC, or also known as a security operation center, to work efficiently without compromising on security aspect. Of course, if you're building a DAST, think about the people that will consume it. So most of the security team will prefer to export and have the ability to export the alert and do their management in-house, which is fine, but require a legacy DAST system to be highly integrated. We will see a bit about how can we stay positive and solve some of this problem, some of this limitation. So it requires new strategies. Recently, there have been something really trendy, which is about the Gen AI, which can help a lot on alert priorization, for example, and also to generate a contextual and better understanding of application and how you can exploit vulnerabilities and try to adapt to your applications. It actually modernized DAST by adding intelligence and efficiencies. Another strategies that we saw a lot was trying to improve your fuzz testing to cover everything that's possible to cover. While some believe it could be a solution, it's often not practical due to limited time and resource. It's more of a brute force method, and it's not always the best fit. So I wouldn't recommend it other than for very small applications. A more effective solution will be the business logic testing. So unlike total fuzz testing and Gen AI, which can be expensive as well, it uses a kind of smart algorithm that try to understand your application and navigate it efficiently. It's try to ensure a good balance between efficiencies and not consuming too much resource and still being accurate. So it will help even on finding some vulnerabilities that other tools would miss. So we can dive a bit deeper on what is business logic and why Scanner needs to understand the business logic. So business logic involves testing the underlying rules and relationship within an application. I made a quick schema to illustrate. On the schema, we have 3 different API resolver interacting with a user's resource. So one resolver creates the resource, another resolver retrieves that resources, and the last one lists all the users in the application. So understanding this relationship is crucial because with a business logic feature, you could create a user, try to get that specific user, or you could even list every user and reuse them, I don't know, to pass some orders and so on. With a fuzzing approach, of a generative AI approach, you will try to pass your order with something that could be valid, but not specially valid, it doesn't have to be in the database, but with business logic testing, you will try to understand the application data model and build attack chains. So you will first make sure you create your user, and then make sure you can access your user, and then make sure you can use the actual user to do several action. So scanner need to grasp these elements. So data models, correlations, attack chains. You could group that around business understanding, because often vulnerabilities exist within logical process and not within code or data libraries and so on. If scanner is able to understand this complexity, it can find really valuable vulnerability just like a pen tester would do. And you would miss with static analysis. So, for example, I don't know, a pen tester will do really differently on a medical platform and on a payment platform. I think we can check some example. So I took this example from OWASP.org, and we can suppose so two business logic vulnerabilities. First, you can imagine an e-commerce site with a user who wants to purchase an item. He checks the summary page, he completes the transaction, and then, okay, an attacker wants to go back to the summary page, change the item price to buy the item with a lower cost. So you have this kind of example. And another great example could be in loyalty system. So let's say you are able to start a transaction and you get loyalty point on this, but then you cancel the transaction. What happened with your loyalty point? Can you still spend them? And so on. You can imagine dozens of business logic test cases. Let's say you are trying to do a payment, but you input a negative amount. What will happen? All of these are business logic scenarios that need to be understood by the scanners and can be managed with static request and brute force approach. But this kind of vulnerabilities can impact applications significantly. Imagine a negative amount in a payment system and so on. And so there is a strong need to identify them and fix them even before they reach productions. But it's not so easy to actually build algorithms that understand the business logic, and I'm well placed to give you some word on that, because there is many scenarios and people keep adding features and new scenarios on their applications. So you have to be able to build algorithms that actually understand it and not overfit on some specific scenarios. So I will give you some word on why it's really challenging. So I will do a quick representation on how you can correlate terms and meaning together. So because modern DAST need deep insight to understand how values interact and what is the application state, you have to keep in memories some graphs, and you have to create some exploration scenarios. You have to be sure that you prioritize well your exploration path. For example, as we saw the example before, you will not be able to get a user if you didn't created it. So you would lose requests. So you have to make sure you're going to explore your application in coherent way, while still being able to maintain the state, a really precise state of the internal database. And then you will have even more constraint, because usually you are running on maybe staging, maybe production environment. So you have to be respectful of the application you are analyzing. And you have to ensure the application integrities to not break the production of someone or everything. So all of this make DAST something really powerful, but really hard to achieve correctly. So that some quick insight, but if you want to go technical, you can just ask some question or ask me on LinkedIn on that part. So for example, I just shared a benchmark. So with regular tools like Zap against modern DAS solutions. So I took Escape for the example, but because it includes business logic testing, you can see that we are going from less than 2% of coverage on a well-known vulnerable application to 76% of total coverage. There is some other differences, for example, the number of requests and feature tested. And the only loss for modern DAST here is the time spent, because you have a startup cost to make all these calculations, making sure you're prioritizing things well, and setting your reinforcement learning algorithm and so on. But these startup costs become affordable with larger application. So we'll see some concrete case to defend against business logic default. So first, we will follow a top-down approach. Let's say you are too open as a company. You must start with threat modeling, and you must make sure that your access control is well-defined, and this will help you visualizing potential vulnerabilities. Then what I will recommend is to address validation issue with a security assessment, just like what you could do with DAST solutions and SAST solution. If you enforce a strong validation mechanism, you will sleep well better at night, I would say. And something else is access control issues that you can almost only detect at runtime with DAST and with some code reviews or through pen testing. So usually you will have to review, restrict access through roles and permissions. There is another thing that can be tested with DAST, and which is really interesting in that case. It's tenant isolation. Let's say you are a SaaS platform and you are selling to two different companies. You need, or two different users. You need to make sure someone has no access to someone else's data. So for this, usually people do audit and behavior analysis, but you can also use modern DAST solution to enforce, to test isolation policies. But you will have to enforce these policies if you have any hole in your policies. So yeah, each of these steps will allow you to fix some weakness in your business logic and ensure it's properly secured. All right, so I'm just in time. I got back on my little startup. So one more thing is we shipped code analysis driven business logic recently. So there is something new, which is being able to take advantage of your code to build application schema, which will be used at runtime to make sure you are testing your business logic even deeper by taking advantage of your code and not only by trying to rebuild and understand how your application works from an agentless point of view. So if you want to talk about it, you can send me a message or a question in the chat. Okay, doesn't seem to have any question. Oscar, are you still there? Thanks, Robert. So I think the next presentation will be on static analysis. I'm just waiting for Oscar to be back. Yes, without business logic, you will still have flows in your app. So make sure you use a mix of everything. DAST is not dead. If you use modern DAST, it's changing, but it's evolving.
Apologies, Swan, having.
Okay. Do you have any question, Oscar, maybe? Or
how do you get your hair to look so good? My priority question.
oh, sorry, I'm not hearing you well.
Oh, it's okay.
It's okay.
No, it's okay. I think that presentation changed my life. I appreciate you, Swan.
Did
Everyone
it?
here in the chat appreciate you. Yes. All right, Josh, appreciate it. First
Thank
time
you,
when I
Josh.
see. So
Woohoo.
anyone? Oscar, no one can hear you.
Yes, it's a bit. Okay. So great. So I think I will leave the place for the next one.
Yes.
Great.
Thank you so much, Juan. Now we can, but very soft. That's weird.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's... All right. Thank you, Oscar. Have a good evening.